Hey everybody, Aaron Blaise here. It's Thursday, so it must be YouTube. We are here and we're going to do some art today. I was thinking maybe do some animation. It'd be kind of fun. I had a great morning this morning. Really great morning. I got on and I did a YouTube live stream with my new good friend Bobby Chu, who approached me. Well, he and I met at CTN out in Burbank 2 years ago. And we both have similar missions. We both are into education, online education, art, all of that. And it was just a matter of time before he and I finally got together. So we met a couple of years ago, and then he contacted us a couple of weeks ago wanting to do a YouTube live stream. And so we did this morning, and I got to tell you, it was great. And I love the idea that Bobby's reaching out. And is not afraid. You know, there's so many businesses that are so cutthroat and don't, you know, are so competitive. And it's so refreshing to meet someone like Bobby that is kind of working in the same space. We're all working in the same space, but there's no reason why we can't do it with arms around each other. And I love that about Bobby. So I just want to say thank you, Bobby, if you're watching. And to everyone else that showed up at that live stream this morning, it was really great. Great questions. I kind of spilled my guts a little bit about my life, and it was a lot of fun. But if you're interested in, first of all, you guys know my website, creatureartteacher.com, but there's also Bobby Chu's site, Schoolism, and it's just schoolism.com. Here's the website on my screen right here. You have that up, Dustin?
Pardon?
Do you have the screen up?
Yes, right here.
Okay, pay attention. Right on. Do you have the website up?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it's his online teaching is really great, and you know, I've always said, you know, if you can't find what we've got, jump over to Schoolism, and odds are they'll have something there. So you know, go over, check them out, show them some love, and but anyway, today let's jump back to what we're doing today.
What are we doing today?
We are going to be doing some animation. So, first of all, as usual, I've got my trusty sidekick, my son Dustin Blaise here with me. Say hi, Dustin.
Hey, everybody.
And then we've got Nick Birch, my business partner over in Sarasota, and he's going to be helping to field questions as well. But this past Tuesday, we were over on Facebook, and I got together with my brother, Travis, who's in Seattle. I'm in Florida, and we did this Facebook Live together where we challenged ourselves to come up with a character. It was my job to design a little character, and then he went away and animated it while I rendered the design. My brother's an animator as well, Travis Blaise, and it was really cool. This was the initial sketch. There wasn't much to it. This was a quick initial sketch that I did right here. I started with this guy on the right. I wasn't crazy about it. The assignment was, well, first of all, we left it up to the audience. And so someone came up with, they wanted us to design a little kitty, a kitten. And I like that idea. I wanted to do something small and soft and squishy. So I started with this, and it wasn't feeling very kitten-like. It was feeling more like forest creature something. And then I came up with this one right here that I liked. And so I sent this one off to my brother. He took this and started animating it. Meanwhile, I took this little sketch and blew it up and created this. And we also left the color up to the audience, and someone asked for it to be pink. And I thought that was kind of cool. I like sometimes putting colors in that are unnatural. And so this is this little pink kitty that I created. And I thought today it might be kind of fun to take this design and do maybe like a little walk or a little run cycle with it in animation on TVPaint. And so I think that's what we're going to do today. How are we doing on the audience, Dustin? Do we have a good audience out there?
We have a good audience. No questions yet, though.
That's okay. How many people we got there? Because I want to get started here.
We have 293 watching now.
Right on. Good. Then that's a good audience to start with. I'm going to jump over. First of all, I'm going to take this and put it up on my upper monitor. Can you switch that over, Dustin? Can you switch to camera 2? To see, I want to show the audience kind of the setup that I have. It's pretty cool. Does it show the upper monitor?
It doesn't. It only shows the.
Oh, okay. But I just want to show the setup. It's for those of you that are looking for a cool setup. This is my Cintiq. I work in a Wacom 27 QHD Cintiq and pen display, and it's nice and big. I love it. It's really cool. And then a lot of times I keep my reference material up on this 4K monitor up above, and it's great. And if you can see, I've got it on a rotating stand here. This is a stand that I built. I was kind of at a loss, and so I thought I'll just build up. And so I went out back and pulled out the saw and hammer and nails and put something together. It works really well. So this is my Cintiq and my setup here. I just wanted to show that to you. And let's go ahead and jump over. We'll go ahead. That's good. We'll go ahead and jump over to TVPaint. TVPaint. There we go.
TVPaint.
Yeah, baby. Baby.
Oh, barber.
So I thought maybe doing a little run cycle or something with this guy could be kind of fun. And I want to do something, really fun and squishy. And what do you think, Dustin? Or should I animate something? What do you like an action, some kind of action? Like, does he jump up in the air? Or
We've already seen the pouncing on Travis's version. And speaking of,
maybe just like a run cycle to give some character.
Yeah. Someone was actually asking if could really quickly see what Travis made during the last.
I don't have it. Maybe we can. No, oh no, I do have it.
Yeah.
He sent it to me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I forgot. It's in my downloads. And my downloads. There it is. Kitty Pounce movie. So keep in mind, this is very rough first pass, and he did this in what, like 2 hours? Not even 2 hours,
like an hour and a half.
Hour and a half. But this is, I'm going to set this to loop. But it's already set to loop. So what it's doing, this is him seeing this little ball of yarn come by, and he gets a nice little bit of character in there. Very loose. This is, when we start our animation, especially when we were at Disney, we would do what are called scribble passes like this, just to get the action down, the acting, the attitude. And then once that's down, then we'd go in, refine our drawings, and fill in all those extra in-betweens. And here I thought, for not having ever seen this character, in an hour and a half, he created a nice little piece of personality. And I'd like to try to do the same thing today. So, I didn't mean to do that. Z, there we go.
One of the suggestions thus far, as far as animation goes, is the kitten crawling into a bottle.
Crawling into a bottle. That's a tough one. I was thinking about just doing a cycle. I'd like to do that if you guys don't mind.
A running cycle.
Yeah. Like a little running, like something, but very, very, very like specific to this cat. So I'm wondering, like a little prancing, like, see how I'm prancing?
So pretty.
So pretty. But I'm going to draw a first pose, just to see. Whoops, that's not the pencil I want.
Was there a certain part of your interview with Bobby Chu today that you enjoyed most? Like a question you liked answering?
You know what? I really like opening up to people. It's something, because I think there's something to be said there. I really want, because so often I talk to young people that are so discouraged so easily. And I just don't want them to be so discouraged. And I want them to understand that we all go through tough times. And so I like to share some of those stories to get them to understand, we've all gone through it. And hopefully they get something from that. So I'm just coming in here right now, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to do the extreme up in the air pose. You got any more, Dustin?
No, not yet.
What the heck, people? Come on, I'm right here. I'm right here. So I'm going to have the eyes closed.
Here we go, we got a question. Do you have a structure when you are drawing Disney characters' bodies?
Oh yeah, there's always a structure. You can see I always start with those circles and start with the big shapes and I always do that.
Basically, you start big and then you go down to smaller details.
You are nailing it, Dustin. I love that you've been listening. I love it. So here I've got this little kitty, and I'm going to go nice, straight. I'm looking for a nice, straight pose.
Have you seen the new movie A Quiet Place?
No, I want to see it so bad. Was that a question?
That was a question.
Yeah, I really want to see it. So what I'm doing is actually I think this should come back further. This character's still new for me as well. Right into the chest.
Which animal do you think would win in a battle? Would it be a male lion or a bull hippo?
A male lion or a bull hippo? Bull hippo, hands down. No doubt about it. A hippo would destroy a lion.
That's why lions don't really mess with them.
Exactly. So what I'm trying to do right here is get a nice little pouncy look.
Are you a cat or a dog person?
I'm an animal person. Obviously, people know that. I love all animals, but I got to say, there's something about dogs. I love cats too, but you know what? I just get so much more love in return from our dogs. So I'm kind of bringing him up this way. Still finding that. There we go. I think this is going to be a fun little pose. I think the tail, bring the tail up here.
Could you explain layers in an oil painting? I don't understand what I'm supposed to do on each layer.
On an oil painting?
Yeah.
Well, as far as the way I layer an oil paint, first of all, as far as layers go, I don't layer a whole lot. I paint fairly direct when I'm impasto, is the term, when I'm oil painting. Very thick and direct. But that being said, I do start, as far as my layers go, they're very similar to the way I do my digital painting, which is I start with a rough drawing, and then I work over the top of that and refine the drawing, and then I seal it, and then I'll tone it with turpentine and a bit of pigment, usually a mid-tone, and then I'll go in with a rag and I'll pull out the lights, all the light areas, to get some kind of value structure happening with the painting itself, and I'll let that set, and then I'll go in and add my darks, all monochromatic, and let that set, and then I start layering color over the top of it, working fairly direct, and from that point I work towards the finished painting. So that's how I do it. Now some people work a little differently. They work more in glazes, where you're working thin, but I tend to work very direct and thick.
What's the hardest thing to master or get down on as an animator?
That's a good question. I think probably one of the hardest things is just letting go of the mechanics, forgetting about the mechanics, and feeling what it is that you're trying to animate, the emotion of what you're trying to animate. I remember, when I was first starting, I get so hung up in the mechanics of what I was trying to do that I would lose the actual emotion, what it is that I'm trying to say. And that's easy to do. It's easy to get caught up in that. And so I would say that was the biggest thing I learned is to, and it's not really learning, it's something that just eventually clicks. You just finally get it.
I got a question for myself. Mind if I answer?
For Dustin. Go, Dustin.
Have you ever tried to go into animation yourself? I didn't really go into the same route as Dad did as far as like cartoon style animation, because the way I was animating was I was a depth artist. So if you ever saw a movie in 3D, like with the glasses and everything, I would create that through a computer instead of through a camera. And I consider it animation because you actually have to keyframe everything through depth, through an imaginary room. So I guess it would be like a half yes, half no. Like, yes, I was in animation, but not in the cartoon sense. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So here, I think I'm going to come back. I'm going to go back. Let's go back to drawing 1. I'm going to resize that again. That's what I love about TVPaint. Everything's so easy to do. Because I don't want her, I just want her like prancing. Now it's going to be in place, so it's going to look like she's hopping. But if we had a background moving by, you'd see her moving. And that's pretty much what I want it to look like.
What character would you animate if you worked on Snow White?
Snow White. What character would I animate if I worked on? That's a really good question. I've never had that question before. I would think I would have loved to have animated Dopey.
I thought you would say that.
Yeah. I like Dopey and I like Doc. Or Grumpy, I mean.
Grumpy?
Yeah, Grumpy or Dopey.
And I like those two, and also, what was it, Sneezy?
Sneezy, yeah. Sneezy would have been fun. Yeah, Sneezy would have been a lot of fun. Okay. So here I'm doing, that's my first extreme. I'm having her up, and I'm going to come to the down pose, which is I'm going to have the ground right about here. But I think that feels pretty good. I think her cheeks are probably a little too, whoops. Oh, I got to save this as Kitty. Let's do Kitty Prance. Kitty Prance. All right, let's bring her down. Bringing it down. Actually, I'm going to turn on. It might be a little noisy.
What's up?
Where's my remote for my fan? Is it right? Is it over there? Did it move?
I moved some stuff over there.
Can you grab it? See if it's over there. I got to turn my fan on. It's getting a little warm in here. It gets warm in here with my computer equipment. There it is. Thank you.
Welcome.
Power on. Bluetooth play. Let's see. Are you getting hot over there?
I'm not too bad.
Good, then I'll leave it on me. All right, so let's bring it down here. Now, this is where she's kind of up and she's kind of weightless. And when she gets down to the bottom, obviously, that's where most of the weight's going to be. So I'm going to squash her a little bit. Bring her down. But I want her still to feel light, even though this is where the heaviest bit's going to be. So I'm not going to bring her head down too much.
Do you do any art showcases at Disney World?
I don't. I do not. I haven't.
If they asked you, would you?
I might, yeah. It all depends on schedule, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Have you ever wrestled a bear?
You know what? I've wrestled a tiger. They were little tigers, but I wrestled them and they beat me. I wrestled 3 tigers. They were tiger cubs, and they ripped me to shreds.
Nice. I had a question earlier. What was your inspiration for Brother Bear?
You know, I've always loved Native American myths and legends and all of that, and I've just nature itself, and I just really felt like this was a good story to tell, and so that was it.
Are you animating this pose to pose?
I am. Right. Yeah. Right now, I'm just figuring out the 2 extreme poses. Then I'm going to break it down.
And what was your favorite project to work on thus far?
My favorite project. I've got a lot of them, and for different reasons. You know, it's hard to say what any one project was that would be my favorite. I loved working on Beauty and the Beast. I loved working on Brother Bear because it's the first film I directed, and it was very difficult. I loved, there was a small commercial project that I did back in 2013 called The Bear and the Hare, for a company called John Lewis, where I co-directed the animation and there we go, and animated. And I loved working on that. So, it's hard to say. Lion King was incredibly satisfying and fun.
How do you phase frames to create smooth animation? And how do you polish line work in the final project?
Well, I have to. You got to really, understand where it's going to be, where it's going to go. And as far as polishing your line work, as long as you're drawing structurally, you can draw loose but still draw with clarity. That's important. And here we go. Little paws. He's got these little paws. It's important that you draw. If you draw loose, you still draw with clarity. And if you do that, then it's not hard to tie your drawings down at the end. So there you can see there's a little squash in here. And I break up the body into these quadrants of head, neck, shoulders, and arms right here. Like you see here, belly. The belly is right here. And then the hips and back legs, and then tail.
In the future, could you do a whole course on drawing and animating folds in clothing?
That's a great idea.
Fabric animation.
Yeah. I like that idea. So here I'm trying to get the volume of this tail consistent with what's up top, and make sure I'm hitting it in the right position for the animation. I might have to come back in later and change it a little bit. But here, actually, I'm going to bring his eye line down just a little bit.
Sorry if I butchered the name, but Oisin Leonard? Is hi, remember me?
Sorry, say it again.
What is it?
Can I see it? Don't. I'm sorry, I don't know. Now I'm embarrassed.
Oh no.
Oh no. So here, I want everything to kind of drag down a little bit. I'm dragging his chin down because the gravity is pulling everything down. The cheeks are dragging down. And I'm going to bring his eyes right here down, down, down. Just like so.
Do you have any source recommendations to work on emotion expression and anatomy study besides your animal video lessons, which I love?
You know what? The best source is people around you. That's where I gained all of my knowledge. It's just looking at people around me. You know, it really comes to feel. You got to feel the emotion when you're animating it, when you're drawing it, in order for it to be conveyed and be honest on the screen. And I got to drop that ear down. Um, if you're not honest, if you're just kind of making something up, if you're not feeling it, then it's going to come across that way on the screen. It really will. And so you have to be honest with it. And a lot of times, it's got to come from you having experienced it. It's got to come from you having seen people going through whatever that emotion is, and then drawing it, getting in there, feeling it. You know, I used to work with Glenn Keane was my mentor, and I used to watch Glenn draw, and he would he just you could see him feeling every emotion that he was animating. And so that's my biggest recommendation, is not so much exercises for emotion, but just really disciplining yourself to feel it as you're drawing it.
Can you do a video on correct body portions?
Proportions?
Mm-hmm.
Like human proportions? I mean, there's all kinds of proportions, so I'm assuming you're saying human proportions.
Most
And
likely.
yeah, and I could do something like that. I've also got it on my website, creatureartteacher.com, if you head over there. And I've got a whole course on human anatomy and proportions. I cover proportions in there. Once again, it's creatureartteacher.com. But I will do something like that. So here I've got, you can see the drag. And actually, I'm going to pull that drag down even more. Let's get those cheeks really squishy.
At that pose, is the cat in the process of pushing itself up so the ears are dragging?
They're dragging because the ears are dragging because he's hit the bottom of the pose. This is the extreme bottom of the pose. Yes, and then he's going to push himself back up. Gravity is pulling everything down. I'm getting some distortion. If you look at the cheeks up here and look at the cheeks down here, I'm getting squashed and stretched. The ears are being pulled down, just like you noticed. The hair on top of his head is being pulled down. The cheeks are being pulled down. The whiskers. Like so.
Who is your favorite colleague or artist to work with?
I almost sound like a broken record because I've been talking about him so much today. But Glenn Keane was my favorite. He was my great mentor. But then again, we had a lot of good people at the studio, and there's Jim Jackson.
Of course.
Jim Jackson.
Jim Jackson.
One of the greatest artists to ever walk the earth. Jim Jackson.
Jim Jackson.
You got to look up Jim Jackson. What's his name, Dustin?
Jim Johnson?
No. Try again.
Johnny Cage?
No. Try again.
Oh, Jim Jackson.
Jackson. But no, I've had lots of great colleagues, lots of great friends. There's Ronnie Williford, who you should look up. Go over to his YouTube channel. Ronnie's doing some great stuff. He and I are great friends. We're actually neighbors now. But we worked for years at Disney together. And Ronnie's an amazing painter, guitar player. My friend Trey Finney, look him up on Facebook. Incredible painter. Lots of great guys that are doing some incredible art. But you got to look up Jim Jackson. Animator, Blue Sky Studios, Jim Jackson.
Have you ever surprised yourself with a thing you were drawing?
No. I'm not sure I understand the question.
Like, did you ever, were you ever surprised of, how much detail you're able to get out of it? Like it was a lot more than you...
Maybe when I was younger, when I was still learning to draw.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't get a whole lot of surprises anymore just because I know what to expect. So that's an extreme down. I'm not sure this is a great drawing. I would probably come in and refine it a little bit. But I'm liking the squishiness of it. And notice, everything's sitting on that ball. Keeping shapes simple. Shapes all very simple. Now it's time to do some breakdowns and in-betweens.
Did you ever have to reanimate a scene while working for Disney?
Oh my gosh. There's a scene in Beauty and the Beast, just one shot alone. There's a scene in Beauty and the Beast. I animated this whole sequence where Belle is trying to bandage his arm, and she touches him. That hurt! He yells, that hurt! And they just get into this big argument back and forth. But before she actually dabs him, there's a scene where he's dodging what she's doing. I did that shot 13 times before I got it to where I liked it, because everything, it felt like he knew where she was going. It didn't feel right, and I couldn't figure out the timing of it, and I did it 13 times. I remember there's another shot I always laugh about back on Lion King, the directors Rob Minkoff and Roger Allers, and I had this shot of Simba and Nala, and they were talking to Zazu, but it was supposed to be Zazu's point of view, and so they're talking, and we're looking, the camera is Zazu, so they're looking straight at us. And it's, I don't know, it's a 5-10 second shot. It's a fair amount of animation. And I had it all kind of tied down and looking good. And I remember Rob Minkoff saying, "Oh, Aaron, the animation's perfect. The acting's good. We like it all. Can you just do it from about 6 inches lower?" Like, what? Yeah, that was pretty funny. All right, so I want to have a little. He's dropping back down. And so I don't want everything just to be even. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have him lead with his front. First of all, I'm going to have the head hang a little bit. Right up here. I'm going to lead right here.
And what tablet would you recommend for a beginner digital artist?
You know what? If it's something that you are if you're serious about it, about your digital art, and it's something you think you're going to pursue, then I say go right to the top. That's your tools are the most important. Are the most important part of your repertoire. If you have bad tools, you're going to create. You can create bad art. And I'm always an advocate for using the best tools you can find.
But is there good tools that are affordable enough for them to help them get to the top?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I don't know what's affordable, what you consider affordable. I'll stretch these down just a little bit more. But Cintiqs are, they can be somewhat expensive, but I say, stretch yourself as far as you can to get that piece of equipment, because I use my Cintiq every single day, without exaggeration.
I've got another question for me. Do you feel like it is a lot harder to get into animation industry now than when your dad became an animator? I personally don't think there's really much of a change. It's just the technology itself has changed, because all the studios are still around. I mean, I personally was never in the animation industry myself, even though I did technically have was in the visual effects area, but I don't think it's any different than it was before. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, I actually do think it's a bit more saturated, because back when I got into animation, animation didn't have, Beauty and the Beast didn't exist, Aladdin didn't exist, Lion King didn't exist. There wasn't a big drive for animation. So I got into it with a little bit less competition. Now the competition's really hot and heavy. But the artistic requirements, I think, are still just as valid and strong.
Yeah, and I think it all depends on what you really want to pursue, because because there's plenty of new ways to expand. Like, you can go to the top with the big movie companies like Blue Sky or Disney or any of those other companies, or you can go into more independent stuff where 2D animation is still a thing, or you can even just become part of a really small studio that does YouTube stuff. Like, there's actually a lot more variety to work with, because back then it was strictly 2D animation, but now there's 2D, there's CGI, there's visual effects, there's all these sources of animations now. So I say the competition's still there, but it's a lot more spread out.
So here, I decided to have that head hang a little longer. And you'll see all this will make sense. I'm anticipating that the momentum of him having jumped up in the air is pulling. His cheeks are going to drag up here a little bit more. I'm always thinking about the fleshiness, the form. So I want these cheeks to really drag. Go ahead, Dustin. Sorry.
No worries. How do you avoid your drawings looking traced when doing cleanup?
Oh, I vary the weight of my line. That's a big one. Vary that weight, and try to treat it as if it's the first drawing that you've done. As far as in the shot.
What degrees do you have?
I don't. I never got my degree. I went to the Ringling College of Art and Design. It was a 3-year school back then, and I actually never got my degree. I got my 3-year certificate, and let me just bring this down just a little bit. I got my 3-year certificate, and then I started at Disney, and so I just never went back and got my degree.
I never even went to college.
Oh, you went to the College of Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks?
Yeah. So you can see he's got momentum, so everything's getting squished up, including those eyebrows, like so. There we go. And he's reaching down. This might be a little broad, but we'll see.
Between anatomy and drawing flow, which do you think is the most important, and which do you think about first before starting the drawing?
Say it one more time, sorry.
Between anatomy and drawing flow, which do you think is the most important, and which do you think about first before starting the drawing?
Flow, for sure. Flow, for sure. I'm always looking for the gesture, and then I get the anatomy right. So here the tail is continuing up. There we go.
They wrote, "See, people, you don't need a degree."
You really don't. You don't technically, especially in our industry. If you can draw and do the job, if you've got the experience. Now, that being said, getting the degree is, some people need to go through that to mature, to understand, what it is that they're doing, to get the art education that they need. But yes, I agree. You don't necessarily have to have a degree.
it can be helpful though. Like just the knowledge that you can gain through all that can really help.
Yes. So I'm going to add another drawing coming down. Right in
Are
here.
you the most famous from Ringling?
No, I am not.
Like, no.
So here I'm looking at the shape of that head. Notice I'm always starting with that ball. That becomes my anchor. And then I go to that eye line. Where's the eye line? I'm going to let those cheeks drag some more. I want them really squishy. Squishy is my favorite word. Squishy. Say it with me, Dustin. Squishy.
Squishy.
All right.
Squishy.
Okay, let's not get creepy. Let's not get creepy.
I'm actually curious about something. Were any of you two interested in animating for the video games world? 2D traditional animation is coming back in a big way. Game developer here, by the way.
No, I've never. It's not anything I've ever thought about because it's always been digital stuff. To be honest with you, I'm not a gamer. Dustin is a major gamer.
Yes.
And so it's not something I've ever really aspired to do.
And for me, I was interested in getting into the game industry. In fact, I wanted to. I was planning to try to find a college. Like I was considering Ringling, and going to a major in video game art and design. But then I ended up going a completely opposite direction and got accepted into the bootcamp training course for Digital Domain's visual effects crew, in which later on turned into a 3D crew, and so I ended up having a career in the 3D industry instead. But before that, I was really interested in video game world industry.
So here I'm thinking about the shoulders as it comes into the ground. I'm thinking about that coming around as a unit. You can see it starting to come down. The drag on the cheeks. Notice how I make sure everything happens at different timings. That's how you get something to look like it has a little bit more life. Like here, I'm going to let this drag a little bit more before I bring his butt down. Maybe that might not be right, but let's just see how it comes out.
One of these days, can you draw Dante from Coco?
Dante from Coco, yeah.
The silly dog.
Oh, yeah. Actually, let's do this. I'm going to start bringing...
Do either of you have suggestions for practicing backgrounds and perspective?
Backgrounds and perspective. You know, perspective is kind of a very academic... to understand perspective, you got to hit it a lot of times from an academic point of view. You know, I would recommend reading up on perspective exercises as much as possible. Let me get up here real quick. And think about your backgrounds as everything has to work together. That might be a little too much. I don't know, because I want it to have a little prancy thing, but I like having it. I don't know. I'm just going to go with it because I'm changing the attitude a little bit, but we'll see how it goes.
We're just kind of winging it at this point.
What's that? Yeah. Well, there was a certain attitude that I wanted to have, but the attitude is changing as I'm trying to break up timing to make a point.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got? What else we got, people?
checking here. I saw a question, but I just lost it from me. Oh, what is this boot camp I have heard you talk about so much? Well, there was a program at Digital Domain Media Group when Dad was working there. There was a program they were putting together where basically anybody that had computer skills and some form of artistic background, they would bring in and they would train them to use the visual effects software Nuke, and it was like a 3 month program?
Yeah.
It was like a 2 or 3 month program, and we were complete novices in the visual effects. At least a good amount of us were, and they would bring us in, and they would, and it was pretty much a paid job, but we were learning as we were going on, and once we quote unquote graduated from the boot camp classes, we would be sent onto the floor, and about 2-3 weeks in, like right after Thanksgiving, we had news that the company bought a 3D business, and the crew of that was coming into the building from California, and not that many of the original crew came, so they needed to bring back up their numbers. So they converted our visual effects crew class into a 3D conversion class, and so that's when that's what the boot camp originally was.
Here we go. Once again, dragging. I'm thinking about everything kind of dragging. There we go.
Do you have any advice for getting more smooth animation?
You know, thinking about fluidity is one of the most important parts of your animation. You know, fluidity is incredibly important. I'm also, if you look at here, I'm thinking about how different parts of the body are going to react according to the physics of this fall as the cat comes down. So if I come back here and scroll, you can see everything kind of happens at a slightly different timing. As I fill in, this will all be on ones, by the way. Nice squishy cheeks. Now I'm going to copy this first drawing and plant it here, and then I'm going to open this up and add a drawing there so that we can then start to get a little bit more of the cycle. So here, once again, stretching them out.
Do you ever get pain in your wrist from drawing on the Cintiq? I often have to stretch because if I don't, I develop pain. What do you do to prevent it from happening?
I draw from the shoulder. I never get any pain ever. And but I draw from my shoulder quite a bit. So here I'm trying to get a nice straight from this bend to a straight. See there?
How can you answer in the chat while animating?
It's called my superpower.
It's magic.
So here I'm pushing, trying to get that straight. Even though, sorry, I got an itchy foot. Even though I'm still thinking about the shoulders. Shoulders come around in here. I'm getting a nice straight through here. You can feel that. Can you feel it?
Can you feel the power? Is TVPaint worth its price, or do you think it should be cheaper to reach more people?
It's absolutely worth its price. They put a lot into that program. And I think it's, you know, first of all, when you get TVPaint, you own it. And it's very robust. So yes, I think it's worth the price. I'm going to let this squash a little bit more. Just like that. Let that fur kind of squash underneath. I'm actually going to bring that eye line up. Oh, maybe not so much. Maybe in here. There we go. I'll let those cheeks drag.
Why don't you animate through Photoshop?
Photoshop is really complex. Photoshop is not made for animation. So TVPaint is made for animation, and I don't even have to think about it, and therefore I love it. And that's why I don't use Photoshop. There's so much more I can do with TVPaint, camera moves, and here we go. Let me get this down here. That tail's going to flatten right out on the ground.
Come to think of it, what happens when you animate it in a halfway to finish the project, and then suddenly they rewrite the scripts and they made your animated scenes to deleted scenes?
What happened? Just that. They got deleted. It happens. That's the way the cookie crumbles. I've got a lot of deleted scenes in movies. So here you can start to see the bounce now. Now the key is going to be in the timing, getting it to hang in the air. I want it to be bing, 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 you know, that kind of timing. Really drag these cheeks.
TVPaint and Photoshop use different brush programs, right? Like you can't.
I don't know if you can. I don't think you can pull Photoshop brushes in yet. I know they're working on it. They might be able to. I'm not sure. My brother Travis Blaise would be a good one to ask, or actually TVPaint would be a good one to ask. TVPaint. One of the things I love about TVPaint is how good they are with their customers. They're really great. And actually, on my website, you know, we have a deal. Not that I know it sounds like I've got this deal, so that's why I'm promoting them. But I really, truly love the software. But I've also got this. If you sign up for our membership on our website, you get a little over 30% discount on TVPaint. And the discount actually pays for the membership. It's pretty cool. So that's my shameless marketing.
What's your recommendation for comic book developers?
You know what? I don't know enough about it. I'm the wrong guy to ask. I've never done a comic book, so it's just outside my area of expertise. So I'm sorry, but yeah, I just don't know. I don't know that industry. But obviously, you know, story is, I think, in all of these disciplines, story is always number one. So if you got a great story, then that's half the battle right there.
Yeah. And when it comes to that, like, it's best to try to think of it as like a TV show, because like each episode needs to have, like, the whole season needs its own story, and then you need to divide that story into like small sections.
Oh,
and each of those sections ends up being a graphic novel.
Where'd that come from?
Huh?
Where'd that come from?
What?
That's just what you're saying. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Thank you. That's the way I figured it, because
Is that just that's what you were thinking?
yeah, that's what I was thinking. And so you need that kind of mentality going towards a comic book, especially if you're trying to make a comic book series. And so, like, you just figure out what the overall story you want it to be, and how you want that story to continue, what kind and make the characters believable, and when you're actually making the drawings, um, make sure they have a lot of good emotion to them, like almost like a good act, you know.
So here, now you can start to see the action. And you can see by having everything happen at different timings, it gives it a little bit more, it just feels a little more real. And we're getting some nice weight. You can see how he leads with the front, comes up. Now what we need is a good in-between in here, where he's pushing off with those back legs. Squishy, squishy cheeks. That's the key. Oops. There we go. Oh, I gotta do that. There we go. All right. So I'm gonna start in-betweening back into my big pose up in here.
Do you have any plans on returning to Asia, and
Yes.
what's your biggest takeaway from your recent trip?
Oh, I loved it. Everything about it was really great. And excuse me.
I think your biggest takeaway has been the food.
Yeah, the food was great.
Especially those dumplings.
Yeah, I made them last night. You know, it's funny. I didn't know what to expect when I went to China specifically, just because we were fed so much information through the media. I expected it to be a lot more oppressive, and it wasn't that at all. And I was really happy about that. It was really great. I really had a great time.
Have you been to the Seacrest Wolf Preserve?
I have not. I called them actually a while back because I'm getting ready to create a wolf course, or I'm creating a wolf course, and they I wanted to go in and photograph, but they wouldn't allow me to photograph because it was the wrong time of year. The wolves, the coats are a little rough because they're shedding a lot of their coat, and so they wouldn't let me come in and photograph. So it's going to be a while before I get to go there, just because of that. There we go. Actually, I'm going to push this up a little more. So I'm going to stretch the legs. Down. Fur comes stretched down. I know it looks weird. Thinking about that anatomy, even on a cartoony cat. I'm trying to, squash and stretch. So there's the squash, really squashed, and here it is coming up, and it's getting skinny because of the stretch. There's that tail dragging.
What is a feature or skill you think new animation students are lacking these days that perhaps they should put more effort into?
Well, I don't know that it's these days. I think this is something that all animation students need to put effort into. And that is, well, there's two things. One is just the acting. The acting is something that it comes to you over time, and many arts animation students get caught up in the action, trying to move something, rather than trying to get something to emote, and that's just early. It's rookie. It's a rookie thing, and that's just something you have to go through. I went through it. So I know the feeling. And sorry, sorry, Dustin.
Okay.
And so there's that, and then there's also um, patience. Just know that you're not going to be a great animator right off the bat, and it takes time, and it takes nurturing, and it takes persistence, and it takes hard work. I get a lot of questions about, hey, what's it take to, what can I do to become a director, and what can I do to become a supervisor, and all that kind of stuff. Well, it takes time and hard work. That's the best thing I can tell you.
Started from the bottom, now we're here.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dustin.
Is Adobe Animate a bad animating program?
I don't know. I've never used it. So I'm sorry. But I've never used Adobe Animate. So here I'm still dragging the cheeks. Right up.
This YouTube video is being saved afterwards, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, it will come up. Or ma'am.
Yes, sir, or ma'am.
So here. So here, if I scroll back and forth.
How can you force yourself to go off model to stretch and manipulate things? My stuff looks very stiff and lifeless. Nothing is really exaggerated, even when just drawing.
Well, that's the thing. You got to force yourself to do it. Look how much I'm forcing. Look at that face. You got to really force yourself to hit that. Even if it goes off model. I would rather see something go off model and have nice dynamics than to stay on model and be stiff. Okay? Always remember that. It's always better to go off model and be dynamic than to stay on model and be stiff. Stiffness will kill your animation.
Is the kitten character a boy or a girl?
Yes.
Yes. Answer to everything.
I don't know. I imagine it as a female, actually. A girl.
Because of the pink fur?
I think so, because of the pink fur.
Or it could be a guy be like, oh, what a cute little pink kitten. Like, what are you looking at?
Yeah, it'd be funny. You can see I'm starting to work my way up into that pose.
Should the 12 principles of animation be always used in animation? And do you use them in every animation?
Yes, I do.
And for the rest of us that don't know, what are the 12 principles of animation?
Oh my gosh, you're putting me on the spot. It's squash and stretch, it's appeal, it's follow through, overlap. There's a whole bunch of them. There's 12.
There's 12. 12 is a lot.
They are actually, I go over every principle of animation in my animation course on creatureartteacher.com. My entire animation course.
Is there anything that you don't like to draw?
No. I don't like to draw mechanical stuff. I really struggle with it. We talked about that today on Bobby Chu's live stream. I really struggle with drawing hard, like cars and stuff like that.
Oh, I love doing that.
I'm just terrible at it.
I actually remember my favorite movie I was part of the depth crew for was Need for Speed.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, we need a drawing in between here. Go ahead, Dustin. Sorry.
Oh, no worries. But shaping out all those cars in 3D was just so much fun.
I bet.
And I think my favorite car I depthed out in there was the Koenigsegg Agera.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because just the curves on the car is just beautiful, and it's so rounded out, and yet there was just enough complexity to it to make it an interesting job to work on.
Uh-huh. That's cool.
Although Star Trek Into Darkness is a solid second.
So here, what I'm doing is I got to get this tail to drag.
Do you usually work with the onion skinning on?
I do. Just to see where I'm coming from, and to follow my proportions.
What's the onion skinning?
It's when you can see through.
Oh, okay. Were you able to do that with the animation paper back in Disney?
Yep, you could see through it.
Yeah. And that's why it was backlit.
Well, I never used a light, but just the paper itself was translucent enough I could see through it. But most of us as animators, we didn't use our light.
And what was that paper made out of? Because I remember the animation paper feeling different from normal paper.
Yeah, it's a little thicker. It's a little heavier. It flips easier because of the weight.
Mm-hmm. And it probably doesn't crinkle up.
Yeah, I mean, it fought crinkles, although, we'd work it so hard, we would crinkle it.
Right. And if you crinkle it with that material, can you imagine if it was normal paper?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It becomes like tissue paper. Here, the belly is, the fur on the belly is fluffing out.
Which two animals do you think are the most fun to draw? Bears or big cats like lions and tigers?
Yes. Yes.
You're gonna have to pick one eventually.
I don't know. You guys, you're picking you're asking the wrong question for me, because those are two of my favorite animals to draw. But I don't know. I love them both. I love lions. I got to admit. If I sit down to start doodling, I'm always doodling lions.
Did I hear Dustin say Vin Diesel? I did not say Vin Diesel anywhere. Do you know he was an Iron Giant? The things you learn on these streams. Actually, you didn't know he was Iron Giant until just recently, right?
Oh no, I knew he was Iron Giant during the movie. When I saw it, when I first saw the movie. He was
I'm thinking of somebody else that I didn't know.
No, but you were telling me he was a voice in something that I didn't realize.
Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy. You didn't know.
Yes, he was. I didn't know he was Groot. That's right.
I am Groot. Pick your favorite child.
Sophie's choice.
Obviously, it's me.
Of course. Where's your sister?
I have no idea. Probably at home relaxing.
So here, we're having a little bit of fun animating for you guys, thinking about weight. Always thinking about weight, thinking about drag. That adds the fluidity I was talking about. And I want to make sure my shapes are simple. So here you can see boing, boing, boing.
It's getting there.
And we're going to need another drawing in between here and here.
Does the flipping help with keeping the volumes the same?
Yes, because I can see the volumes when I flip. So here you can see it bounce up and down. And because I'm breaking up the timing on everything, it just gives it a bit more of an organic feel. So I'm going to come back and finish this drawing.
Why are even 2D animations so expensive? Does most of the money go on wages?
Yes, most of the money goes to wages. It's a very labor-intensive endeavor, and most of the money spent is on man hours, wages. Very good observation.
And back when you guys were doing on paper, like how much do you think the cost was for all the supplies of paper for the
overhead for supplies? That I don't know. I never got. I never got that specific. But I know, like certain departments, you know, like the cleanup department, the people that go in behind the animators and clean up all the drawings, do the nice pretty drawings, that was our most expensive department. Most of the money was spent there.
Do you use reference photos often? If so, at what moment do you look at them the most? Preparation while sketching or fixing details of a drawing, for example?
It's usually in the beginning. Yes, I do use reference photos. Um, and it's there usually as a starting point. Let me show you an example of a recent piece that I did. I don't know if I still have the, I don't know if I have the reference photo. Yeah, I do. I do. So if we go to Lion and Crocodile, I got to go to the screenshot. Let me open this up. Not that one. I'm looking for file open. Sorry guys. I'm looking for this shot and I'm going to open this one. So these two. This is a documentary that I was watching and I really love this moment. This is from Disney's African Cats. And I love this moment right here between this lion and this crocodile. So I freeze framed it. I took a frame grab and I used that as inspiration for this final painting. So you can see, you know, even though I'm using reference, I'm pushing things. I wanted to push the attitude. If you look at the expression on the lion, I wanted to push it almost like he's screaming back at him. I pushed how close they were. I pushed the size of the crocodile. I changed the lighting. I changed the grasses. There's all kind. I dropped the horizon down. Lots of different things that I did, but I was inspired by that initial photo, and I used that as my initial inspiration, and then I move forward. That's how I usually use any kind of reference that I might use. So there you go.
Heard rumor that Blue Skies is bringing back 2D animation. Any truth behind that?
I have no idea. That I have not heard. If that's true, then that would be really awesome. Now I know Blue Sky uses 2D animation to test a lot of their characters after they've been designed. A lot of the guys will animate them, animate the characters before they take all the time to model them. My good friend Jim Jackson is one of those guys at Blue Sky that does that. He's one of those guys that'll take a character and animate it, and his animation is brilliant. He's actually one of the greatest artists to ever walk the earth. Just if you ever see him, tell him that. Jim Jackson. James Young Jackson.
Do you ever see Loving Vincent?
You know what? I never saw it, and I've got to see it.
That's the Vincent Van Gogh.
All done in oil paint.
Yeah. Did that come out?
Oh, yeah. It was up for an Academy Award.
Really?
Yeah. Okay, so here you can see everything dragging. Body's coming down. Squishy cheeks. Look at those cheeks go up and down. Boing, boing, boing. Now, where do we need? This is we needed one between here and here. So I'm going to open that up, put a drawing in there.
I noticed you animate pretty neat, and you kind of put details for each drawing as you are animating. Is there any reason why you don't animate roughly, like put details in later?
If it depends on the action. Like this action is fairly contained, and I know where I want it to go, and I'm fairly confident with the character. So I'm not. I just tend to animate a little more cleanly. There we go. And the shapes are fairly simple. It really depends on the action. It depends on the character. Yeah, it's just how I think. And remember, I've been animating for 30 years, so that part of it helps. pull that shoulder down a little bit.
Adding much line work gives more detail and depth of character, right?
Adding more what? Say that again?
Line work gives more detail and depth to the character, right?
Not necessarily. Adding more line work?
Line work, like...
Yeah, it doesn't, not always. Adding more line work sometimes just adds more line work. Just makes it more busy. So
it all depends on the emotion.
Yeah. So here, I've got the ears popping up into place. Cheeks popping into place. Sorry, go ahead, Dustin.
All right. When working in a studio, how often do you take breaks?
We would take about 2 or 3 breaks a day. In an 8-hour day.
Yeah.
You know, if we're working 12 hours or 16 hours, because we were known to do that, we'd obviously take more breaks. Disney was really good about, you know, when we had our really big crunches where we were working, you know, 14-hour days. They'd actually provide us with a masseuse.
In the last company I was in, they gave us masseuse once, I believe.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. And yeah, our breaks averaged every 2 hours.
Yeah.
Like every 2 hours.
Like a 15-minute break.
Yeah, a 15-minute break, and then it was like 2 hours, 15-minute break, 2 hours, then lunch, and then after that was another 15-minute break. But if we worked past our 8 or 9 hour days during our overtime seasons, then we would have dinner time. And I think our dinner was at around 7 or 8 o'clock.
Gotcha.
And then would have another break after that.
Got it. So I'm really stretching this back leg.
Are you excited for Wreck-It Ralph 2?
Yeah, I am.
I love the commercial for it, especially the very end with the
I know.
bunny. That has gone everywhere. It has gone, that one little snippet has gone viral.
Oh, has it?
Yeah, the girl screaming.
Screaming, yeah, yeah. So once I get this drawing done, we'll be able to go in and I'm going to try messing around with some of the timing of our little prancy kitty.
Why did you put ear tufts in this kitten?
I just felt like it. If you look at I put them in on the original design right here. You can see the tufts on there. So I thought it might be make for a nice little piece to overlap in the animation.
Hey Aaron, will you be coming to Ireland at some point?
At some point, baby. I would love to.
If you go, you're taking me with you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's definitely on our list. I would love to go. All right. So if I play this just straight ahead on ones, you can see it's too fast. So we got to find ways that we can get this to. We got to find places to extend the drawing, and I'll show you extend some of the timing. I know that I want him hanging up in the air, so I'm going to put that on 2s. I might put that. I'm gonna put this on 4. And then maybe this one on 2. Maybe this one right here on 2. And leave the other ones and see what happens. See, I like that timing. Like he's just prancing along. Now, like I said, it's not quite the bing, that's very kind of stiff prance that I was looking for, because I was trying to accentuate the overlap in the body. But I think there's something there that can be kind of fun.
You look so adorable.
So let's go in now and add the in-betweens. So here, I'm going to add an in-between here.
Have you ever been to Norway or Scandinavia?
I've been to Denmark. Does Denmark count as Scandinavia? I don't think it does. No, I've never been to Norway. The closest I've ever got was Denmark. And I would love to, by the way.
For the European tour, any chances on visiting Slovakia? I think chances are almost zero, but I just had to ask.
I don't know. To be honest with you, you're probably right. It's not something I would have thought of. But if there's a demand for us, I would love to go to Slovakia, because I know there's some beautiful places there, and if we get enough reason to go, there's no reason why we wouldn't go.
Can you explain about saying off-model based what you've mentioned earlier, animating this kitten?
Off model means it not looking like the original model, the original drawing. Oh, now I know what you're talking about. When it goes off model, when I'm distorting the character, squashing it and stretching it, sometimes you can distort it so much that it goes off model. It doesn't look like that character anymore. And so that's what that means. But I'm a firm believer that you can get away with a lot more squashing and stretching and distorting your character than people realize, and it will still feel like it's on model.
Question from me, but did you ever how often did you use that technique in any of the past Disney movies?
Distorting of characters?
Yeah,
on Rajah Rabbit. On Rajah Rabbit, I did it a lot. I really distorted Rajah Rabbit.
Would you say that was the one you did the most in one project?
Yeah, but I would distort our characters a lot. As far as moving them quickly, I'd stretch the heck out of them. Nice, nice one. Got a little bit right here on my face.
I covered.
Dustin has the best sneezes. I love Dustin's sneezes.
Stop it.
No, I do. I think you've got the best ones. I might have to make some adjustments on the tail, but we'll see. This is where I really want the cat, to be kind of floating.
Are in-betweeners also animators? Can people who don't know how to animate be in-betweeners?
Yes. In-betweeners are not necessarily animators, although some of them can. But in-betweeners are mainly there to fill in, they fill in the drawings that need to be filled in to smooth out the action. Now, obviously, it helps to understand animation as an in-betweener, but I've had in-betweeners work with me before that didn't know how to animate, but they were really great in-betweeners.
Do you think Walt Disney would be proud of the direction his company has taken?
Walt Disney was a businessman. Walt Disney has been elevated to this godlike status, but at the end of the day, he was still a businessman and did some pretty shrewd business practices. I think he would agree. Now, whether or not you agree with what Disney's doing, I don't know that he would be completely out of it. But I can't say. I mean, I never knew Walt. I don't know. But I know he's let me play that. There, now you can see now you can see a little squishiness in that face. And see what I mean? When you get them up in the air, I can get her to hang a little bit longer. You see it, Dustin?
Yeah.
I actually like having that butt kind of going at a different timing. You can look how fast that tail gets whipped. But you can see by having those ears drag and the cheeks drag, it becomes much more pliable and squishy and kind of fun. And here she is, just kind of prancing. I got to get those whiskers in there, but I'm gonna finish these drawings. I want to add some more drawings here. I'm gonna put one. I'm gonna bring this back, and I'm gonna add. Let me copy this. Put it here. And I'm gonna add another drawing here, going into that drawing, into that pose. How we doing, Dustin?
Doing pretty good. How are you?
Good.
What's the difference between drawing on ones and twos?
Well, drawing on ones and twos. If you can see here I've got drawings that are held on for 2 frames, just because I want that a little bit more impact, right here and right in here. And but you'll notice that when I play it, you don't really see the twos, because we can get away with doing twos and the eye doesn't really pick it up. Putting everything on ones will give it a bit more smoother, give it smoother action, and that's what I'm going to end up doing on this. But if I want something if the action is a little bit slower, like where the cat is at the top of its jump, I can get away with putting twos in there and the eye doesn't pick it up. And that's a way to do a little bit less drawing and save a little bit of money and time by putting things on twos when you can get away with it.
Did you ever meet Walt Disney? I know you didn't meet Walt, but...
Come on, man. I was born in 1968. Walt died in, what, 1966?
Yeah, but I know you met another Disney family member.
Oh, Roy Disney.
Yeah, Roy.
Yeah, actually, Roy Disney and I knew each other pretty well. He used to come out to the studio, and he would hang out with Bob and Chuck and myself in our story room. He would kind of escape from everybody when we were making Brother Bear, and we would trade stories about, his, he did a lot of the Disney nature films, and I grew up on those. Plus, I did a lot of camping and crazy places, and so we would just trade stories about all of that. And first time I ever saw Cirque du Soleil, it was with Roy Disney.
Oh, really?
Yep, he was really cool. He was a great guy. We had fun.
Was it the Cirque?
We weren't like buddies, but he hung out with us quite a bit.
Was the Circus du Soleil the one that was at
Downtown Disney, yeah.
Nice. That was La Nuba.
La Nuba.
And Roy is...
Walt's nephew.
Walt's nephew. Gotcha.
Yeah, he's Roy Jr.
Gotcha. Is for me. Hi, Dustin. I really appreciate you reading our questions. Thank you so much. Do you feel bored sitting there for that long to just read our messages? Actually, no. I actually rather appreciate being helpful.
I love it. I really enjoy having him here, and hopefully you're learning stuff, and you're getting to hear stories from, that maybe you hadn't heard before.
Oh, absolutely.
There we go.
And plus, I figured this would be a major help for a dad, because he's so focused on the drawing, and that he won't be able to focus on the questions. Which, whenever I do my live streams, I try to multitask with both interacting with the audience and doing my gameplay.
And play the duty. That's probably
so
hard.
This would be very helpful for him.
It's super helpful. Are you kidding me? So here, you can see the front end is just of the cat is just kind of floating while the back end catches up. And then here, I'm going to have the tail come way up here, but also stretch way down here to cover the distance between the two.
Oh, earlier, Nick, what reminded you, you did animate the Lion King and Aladdin Genesis games from the video.
Oh yeah, I always forget about that. I forgot about that. I animated on the Lion King and Aladdin Genesis games way back in the 90s.
And from the question further back about Snow White, which characters you would animate, Nick says you look like Doc or Grumpy, but definitely act like Dopey.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Nick. I love it. Okay, so here I'm putting everything on, I'm putting the rest of the drawings on one, so you can see there's not a huge difference in the drawings, but I want it all to be nice and super smooth and on ones, so that's what I'm going to do.
And in a future live stream, can you do a demo in Corel Painter?
Sure. Yeah, I will definitely do that. So here I'm really just going through the motions because you guys have seen the animation. You saw that it's basically there, it's all there, but now I'm just smoothing out the action. I am minutes away from finishing. And look, it only took us an hour and a half. Only an hour and a half to do a nice little cycle of this bouncy kitty.
Was there ever a character that you really wanted to animate but never got the chance to?
Marahute.
Marahute?
Yep, Marahute. Do you remember who Marahute is? The eagle from The Rescuers Down Under.
Oh.
Yep.
I haven't seen that movie in years. I only remember like.
Yeah, I really wanted to animate the eagle. That was just. I don't think Glenn knew how much I loved eagle or birds and how much knowledge I had for that. I shouldn't say knowledge, but how much drive I had for something like that. Glenn and I worked on Beauty and the Beast together, but he was doing Marahute, and oh my God, I was drooling because I wanted to animate eagles so bad. And so I wish I could have done that. So once again, here what I'm doing is, it's all about attitude, right? You know, we're trying to remember the mechanics, you know, to get the physics right on this jump up and down. But rather than getting caught up in all of that, it's attitude. I really wanted her to have this little prancy attitude. This kitten. Cat, kitten. And hey, my grandson's here.
Hey.
Aiden is here.
How's it going?
How are you, Aiden? You want to come over and say hi to everybody in the world?
Yeah.
Come on over here. Come around. Be careful. Come around over here. Come on over here. Come over here. Come here. Look at the camera. Right up here. Look at the camera over here. Oh, come up. See? Everybody's in there. The whole world is right in that camera right there. What do you think of that?
Good.
Can you say hi, everybody?
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, this is my grandson, Aiden. He came over to visit today. And so what I'm doing right here, Aiden, is I'm making this cat, and he's jumping up and down. See that kitty up there?
Yeah.
I'm animating him right here, or her. Now I gotta get the tail right here.
We have to go.
You have to go?
Yeah.
Okay, well, hold on. I gotta show you this. You're not leaving until I show you this. You can't go. All right, you ready to see it animate?
Yeah.
Boing, 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 boing. What do you think?
Good.
Thanks. He's so excited. He's so excited. All right, well, I love you.
I tell you.
Give me a hug.
Wait, can I pink now?
No, I can't add the pink. I got to do that later. And I got to go back to drawing. The world awaits. Okay, I'll see you later. Bye. Careful, don't hit the camera. All right, we're getting close. We're getting close. All right, let's see here. Where am I? Here. Oh, I stopped it right on the frame that I want to add an in-between on. There we go. All right. So that was my grandson, Aiden. All right. He just got home from school. I love having my family living so close. It's really cool. Dustin just lives down the street. My daughter and my grandkids live 10 houses away, right around the corner. It's a pretty cool way to live with family so close. Family's important to me. You're awfully quiet over there, Dust Butt.
It's mainly a bunch of comments of what just occurred, like, oh, so cute.
Oh.
What just popped up? Could you do a video where you give advice on animation from your viewers? I could use some advice on my animations.
Say it one more time.
Could you do a video where you give advice on animations?
Oh, from other viewers?
Yeah, from other viewers.
Yeah.
Basically a form of portfolio.
Yeah, that's something we're trying to figure out how to do. But once we get it worked out, we will definitely be doing it.
And we're getting close.
We are.
Yeah, I would say in the next hour we'll have that ready.
Don't say that. All right. Whoop. There we go.
Have you ever done a cutout animation?
I never have. I'd love to try it. See this? See, here's an example of the drawing kind of getting away from me. But it looks a little. See how that drawing just looks a little funky. But I'm just going to leave it because it's on ones and it doesn't. It stays within the arcs, so I'm not going to worry about it.
What do you think of Pete Doctor? Did you see Coco?
Oh, I think Pete. I know Pete Doctor. I think he's awesome. And yes, I saw Coco. I loved Coco. But Pete Doctor didn't direct Coco, did he? No, I don't think he did. If he did, awesome. But I didn't think he directed Coco. But maybe I'm wrong.
Did you two animate together?
No. Pete Doctor is one of the founders of Pixar.
Oh.
He directed Up and Monsters Inc.
Really?
Yeah. And he's a really cool dude. A very nice man.
How do you get the most work done in a short animation session?
You know what? You got to really know where you want it to go, and don't noodle it. Meaning don't do that with it. Just get in there and draw it. And there we go.
Did you make some brushes with your ponytail?
No.
He made one super large brush.
Yeah. There we go. All right, one more drawing. Right here. One more drawing. Actually, I might leave that on twos. That's not the one. That's where did it go? There it is. There we go.
Pete's last work was Inside Out.
Right. Oh yeah,
his
Inside Out.
next work is Toy Story 4.
That's right. I forgot he did Inside Out. I don't know why I forgot that, but okay. So, whoops, that's not what I wanted. Stop. Um, we got to get those whiskers.
Did you ever work on some combination stop motion and drawn animation? That was the Bear in the Hair.
Yes, but I really didn't do any of the stop motion.
But you were part of the animation portion.
I was. I co-directed the animation.
Is it okay to mix animating one in both ones and twos combined?
Oh yeah, do it all the time. Yep, it's okay to mix the two. And notice how quickly I'm doing these whiskers. Don't worry about being so tight.
When animating, do you use the fill-in tool or just color it in naturally?
If my drawings are clean enough, then I'll use the fill-in tool. Otherwise, I have to color them by hand.
Have you personally ever done stop motion?
Never done stop motion. I would love to. All right, let's see how our whiskers look.
I animate dinosaurs and I use dinosaur
There we go.
figures so I can get the angles right. Is that why you guys at Disney had clay figures of the characters?
Yeah, we had just for reference for different angles and difficult angles and things like that. So that's why we know they're called maquettes. But anyway, I wanted to just to review this again real quick. I wanted you guys to see now that we've got all the drawings in there. You know, I started with those two poses, the top pose and the bottom pose. You know, knowing that I was going to break up the timing as I added more drawings. And so here you can see there's different timings. The back hips have different timing than the front shoulders. But it was, and you know, creating the squishiness in the cheeks and the drag in the ears and all of that. Those are all key to creating appealing, smushy, tactile, fluid animation. And it's just something that you just need to keep working at and practicing. Remember, we were talking about, you know, it's more important to push a character off model and have something be dynamic than to keep it on model and have it be stiff. You don't want it to be stiff. So I want something that feels squishy and fun and something you want to pick up and pet, you know. And the other things too, you know, the overlap of the tail. You know, I'd like that little the whipping motion on there. The fur, the belly fur, how it overlaps. So you're always thinking about the physics, the momentum. Where is the momentum coming from, and how does the fur or the fat or the whatever it might be, how does that react? Look at the whiskers reacting to the motion of the head. So anyway, I've got to hit it. I've got to get going. But I just wanted to. I thought this was a lot of fun. You know, to create this little prancy cat in less than 2 hours. So I just wanted you to see that you can do something like this as long as you kind of practice and you know, put your mind thinking about, you know, the attitude and don't get hung up on the actions, because that'll just come in secondary. But thanks a lot, you guys. I'm going to take the next 2 weeks off. I'm trying to get this wolf, coyote, and fox course finished, and I'm having a very difficult time doing the live streams and staying focused on the course. So I'm going to take a little break from the live streams for the next 2 weeks while I work on this course and get that out to you guys. And when I do get it done, I'll be sharing one of the videos on YouTube just to give you a little sense of what it is that we're doing. But thanks a lot, you guys, for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Remember, you can go over to my website, creatureartteacher.com, and I've got all kinds of courses there and lessons and all kinds of cool stuff. And thank you, Dustin, for all of the great questions and helping me out today. Dustin's been an absolute genius, by the way, the last few days helping me out technically and working in the room.
Shucks.
Yeah, no, it's been great. And so anyway, I just want to say thanks you guys for hanging out with me for the last 2 hours. It really made my day. And I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks. Go out and try some animation. Try some of the techniques I showed you today. And put some beauty back into the world. That's my catchphrase. Put some beauty back into the world. We're artists, and you know, that's what we should do. And go out and be nice to somebody, and put some kindness back into the world too, because you know we need it. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys in a couple of weeks, and thank you so much for watching. And I will talk to you later. Dustin, take it away.
Cowboy Bebop.